So, ladies and gentlemen, it's so nice to be with you today. My name is Eric Berlin, and I'm the principal trumpet of the Albany Symphony Orchestra. I'm also the professor of trumpet at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. And I'm here today to tell you about my favorite instrument of the orchestra, the trumpet, tell you a little bit about the brass instruments in general, how they work, a little bit about their history, and maybe play some music, and perhaps when you have a chance to choose an instrument, maybe you'll like to play the trumpet or another brass instrument. So the brass family is known for making a very loud sound, and that's what gives us, oftentimes we get to play the melody, and we get to play the hero in movies, in orchestra pieces, and maybe you'll know this this hero from a movie score by John Williams. Which movie hero is that? Can you tell me? That was Superman. We love that hero. And John Williams wrote lots of wonderful music for movies, for some of your favorite movies that you actually may have seen. And almost always the trumpet gets to play the hero. So, the trumpet is unique, the brass family is unique, I should say, in how we make a sound. All brass instruments make a sound the same way. But different instruments in the orchestra, different families of instruments, make sounds in different ways. So, let's think about how the different instruments make a sound. Something has to vibrate in order to make a sound for a musical instrument. So on a string family, maybe a violin or a cello, you've got guitar, maybe a cello or a bass or a viola. Something vibrates. Can you tell me what vibrates? Right, the string. So on a violin or a cello, you'll pull a bow across a string, you maybe pluck the strings of a guitar, and that string vibrates, and that's what makes a sound. In the woodwind family, when we have a clarinet or a saxophone or an oboe or a bassoon, something vibrates. Do you know what makes a sound there? What vibrates to make a sound on a woodwind instrument? If you said a reed, then you really know your stuff. So in the woodwind family, what happens is a small little sliver of wood vibrates. It's inside, they blow across that small piece of wood, and that vibrates. That's what makes the sound. Percussion family, you hit something, and that's what makes a sound. But the brass family is unique in that the way we make a sound, what vibrates is us. Yeah, we vibrate. So, in order to show you what we do, we take a big breath, we blow air through our closed lips, and we get this sound right here. Now, please don't do this at home. You'll get your furniture all wet. If you're with your friends, you get them all wet. But what we do, we take a big breath, we blow air through closed lips, and we get this sound right here. Now, how many of you would like to hear us do that in the back of the orchestra? Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah. Well, if you know our conductor, David Allen, he's a man of rather refined taste, and he doesn't allow us to do that. That's a shame, right? So instead, we have to take that rather unrefined and disgusting sound, and we put that into a mouthpiece. Now, all brass instruments have a mouthpiece, some bigger than others. And we take that unrefined and disgusting sound, and we put that into a mouthpiece, and we get this sound right here. Like us to do that in the back of the orchestra. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like I said, our conductor, David Allen Miller, he's a man of rather refined taste, and he doesn't let us do that in the back of the orchestra either. It's a shame. Well, but instead, what we have to do is we take that rather unrefined and disgusting sound, and we put that into one end of our brass piece of plumbing, and that's all that a brass instrument is. It's a long tube with a mouthpiece that we buzz into, and we get this sound right here. So, to show you the whole thing again, we take a big breath, we blow air through our closed lips, we cause our lips to buzz, we put that buzz into a mouthpiece, and then we put that mouthpiece into the trumpet, and this is how it works. So watch this. Okay, here we go. Big breath. Everybody got it? So that is how the brass instruments make a sound. Okay? So just remember, we blow air through our closed lips to make them buzz, and that's how we make a sound in the trumpet or any brass instrument. So now I want to tell you a little bit about the history of the brass family. So we start out thousands of years ago. I was out with a good friend, and we got lost. We were out hiking in this woods, a beautiful big island. We were just out in the middle of the woods. We got lost from each other, and we got scared, and we didn't know what to do. And so, it was starting to get dark, and all of a sudden, I'm thinking, how am I going to find my friend? Yo, dude, where are you? He couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear him. So, because I had great teachers like you do, I was taught critical thinking skills, creative problem solving, and what I came up with, I was looking around for things in nature to see what I could find to find my friend. Now, first thing I found was this. Anybody know what this is? It's a horn. Yes, this is a horn. More specifically, the horn of an African antelope. Even more specifically, the horn of a dead plastic African antelope, yes. So this is also known as a shofar, okay? So let me ask you, what should I do with it? What should I do with this to find my friend? Anybody got any ideas? I could hit it. That doesn't help. Blow through it. That doesn't work. How about the other end? Okay. No, it doesn't work. If I hum through it. That doesn't work either. Did you say buzz my lips into it? Well, let me try that and see what happens. Let's see if I can. Well, it does have a small end here. It looks kind of like, maybe I can buzz my lips in that. Well, let's see what happens. It makes a sound. So, yes. So my friend could hear me on the other side of the island. Now, on the other side of the island, my friend found this. Who can tell me what this is? If you said a conch shell, yes, that is what it is. Now, what should I do with this? I could hit it, blow into it, maybe sing into it. Oh, do you want me to buzz my lips into it? I can buzz my lips into it. Let's see how that works. And it makes a loud sound. It makes such a loud sound that my very best friend has just come to see what I'm doing. Reuben. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Reuben the Wonder Dog. And Reuben is my very best friend. He doesn't like it when I make loud sounds. But this is a conch shell. Yes, so this is how this worked. This was one of the first brass instruments, even though it's not made of brass. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's how we make the sound, and we make a sound by buzzing our lips into it. And so if you get married on the island of Hawaii, they'll often blow into the conch shell, make a sound to celebrate. And if you go to temple, they call this a shofar. And a shofar is played in services in Jewish temples, and also if you think about when Joshua, the story of Joshua blowing the walls of Jericho down, some of you might know, you might think that he blew the walls of Jericho down with his trumpet that looked like this. But no, he blew the walls of Jericho down with a trumpet that looked like this instead. So this, because it made a loud sound, the trumpet was used in the military. Okay, and we would just call people to battle. So at some point, we started making these trumpets out of metal. And this is what is called a Tibetan temple trumpet. And this is something that is used in their religious ceremonies. Reuben, go lay down. Reuben doesn't like it when I play the loud instruments. So, but this would have been the next step. We learned how to bend metal. We take a flat piece of metal and we bend it into this shape. And then we make a different sound. And that gets people's attention too, doesn't it? So, eventually we found that if we made longer trumpets, we got more notes. And I have one of these ancient trumpets with me. Would you like to hear an ancient trumpet? All right, so here we go. So here's my trumpet. And you can see it's quite a bit longer. Wait. It's quite a bit longer. Did you say that's a garden hose? No. That's a trumpet. So see, it's just a long tube with a mouthpiece on it. Well, so if you think it's a trumpet, if you think it's a garden hose, I think it's a trumpet. But if you think it's a garden hose, maybe I'll play some water music on it for you. Okay? Here we go. Let's see how this goes, right? Do you believe me now? Yes, that's a trumpet. So I pull this out. Yes, it's a garden hose. But I pull this garden hose out just to show you that that's all that a brass instrument is a long tube that we buzz our lips into and buzz into the mouthpiece. But you see, when I have a longer tube, I get more notes. I get a few more notes up higher in the register. But what that trumpet really would have looked like, and please do me a favor, do not go and cut up mom and dad's garden hose to make a trumpet. You'll get in trouble, and probably so will I. Anyway, so what that trumpet really looked like was this. Okay? And we can play all kinds of interesting songs on this with those few notes that we can play. I can play. And most of the composers that were writing for the trumpet back in the Baroque era, like in Bach's time, they were writing for just those notes. And it was cool because now we made a lot prettier sound than our shofar or our old Tibetan temple trumpet, our old metal trumpet. We made a much prettier sound, and we were invited to play in the orchestra. And that's the coolest thing. We were finally invited to play with our friends that played all the other instruments of the orchestra, like the flute, the clarinet, the violin, the cello, and all those wonderful instruments in the orchestra. So here we were, and we found, okay, well, I can play these notes, and that's cool, but those are the only notes I can play. And that became a little bit boring. So someone had to figure out how to get more notes. And we found out that if we took a long tube and we made it different lengths, we got a different set of notes. And so you guys will see this and think, oh, that looks like a small trombone. And it is. It's a small trumpet. Actually, trombone means large trumpet. But the trombone was the first instrument that was able to get all the notes that our friends could get, because every time we make the trumpet a little bit longer, we get a new set of notes. Okay? So when the tubing's longer, we get a lower set of notes. When the tubing's shorter, we get a higher set of notes. So so on and so forth. Someone discovered a wonderful way to put 7 different trumpets in one. Because if we wanted to play all the notes that our friends had, we had to have 7 different trumpets sitting around. And that's pretty clumsy. So the trombone was the first one to be able to do that. But an even better system, a more evolved system that we like to say as trumpet players, we think that our trombone colleagues are a little bit further behind us in evolution. But we're only joking about that. But the trumpet, what I hold here is 7 different trumpets in one. So I want you to count them with me. The first one, 1, 2, 3. And when we put all of those notes together, we get all the notes that our friends could play. And that is how the trumpet works. All right? So, we have just shown you how the trumpet works. By, like all brass instruments, we buzz our lips into our mouthpiece in one end of our tube. We've shown you the history of the brass family, how we go from instruments we found in nature to making instruments out of metal, making longer trumpets to get more notes, and then putting all kinds of, like 7 different trumpets in one to get all the notes that our friends could get. Isn't that cool? All right, so that is most of what we need to know about how to play the trumpet. But we're really like you guys. Brass players, we like to make different sounds. Sometimes we like to, as people, talk in different accents. Try to imagine that we're from a different place. We could try to put on a British accent, maybe sound like someone from the South. We like to change our voice when we play our brass instruments too. And the way we do that is we use mutes. And mutes come in different shapes and they give us different sounds. This is what we call a straight mute, and when we put this into the bell, it makes it sound like it's got a cold. It's like I hold my nose, right? Reuben doesn't like the straight mute. We have a cup mute. There's a cup mute because it's got a cup on the end of it. Reuben, would you like to tell them what this mute is? Would you like to tell them what this mute is? This is what we call a Harmon Mute or a wah-wah mute. Now this has got 3 great sounds to it. That's one of the reasons I think it's most fun. So first of all, we get this sound. It makes it sound like a bumblebee. Miles Davis, the great jazz trumpet player, he would often play with a Harmon Mute. It's a great sound for jazz. We can also put this little stem in there, and we get a different sound. But we can also make a really cool sound. Now, I know that your teachers don't sound like this, but when I was growing up, my teachers sounded like Charlie Brown's teachers. All right. Now, there's one other mute, and I forgot my mute, so I went upstairs and I found in the bathroom, I found one, and so somebody must have been using a mute in the, what? I don't understand. It's a what? No, it couldn't be. No, this has actually never been used. Sync plunger, and we use this to make the trumpet talk. Isn't that fun? So we use a plunger to make the trumpet talk. So I think I've talked about just about everything we need to know except for one thing. And I forgot to say that trumpets come in different shapes and different sizes. So you probably have seen me play this trumpet. This is what, if you're going to play the trumpet, you would play an instrument just like this. This is a B-flat trumpet. Now, I have another one that you'll see me play in the orchestra. This is a little bit smaller. If you can see, there's less tubing right here, right? So if it's shorter, is it going to play lower or is it going to play higher? Is it going to play higher notes or lower notes? If it's shorter. Right, it's going to play higher notes. So this is what you hear me play in the orchestra all the time. And this sounds like this. That's a C trumpet. Now, we also have a little bit smaller trumpet yet. And this, you can see, has even less tubing here. And this instrument is an E-flat trumpet. And we use this for some of our famous concertos, the concertos that we play on the trumpet. So this is one by Haydn. And in order to do this, Reuben will tell you that sometimes we need to get a bath, right? Sometimes when we're playing our brass instruments, do you want to get a bath? No, you don't want to get a bath. Okay, Reuben doesn't want to get a bath. Go lay down. Okay. So when we play our brass instruments, we're blowing air from our mouths into our instruments. So I just had lunch. So what am I blowing into my instrument? Lunch. Now, our instruments get dirty and we need to clean them. And the way we clean them is we take them and we put them into a bathtub with hot water and soap. Now, only brass instruments do you do this with. You don't do this with any other kind of instruments, so be very careful. Only trumpets and trombones, tubas, French horns, that kind of thing. That's what we do this with. We take that instrument apart, we put it in the bathtub with hot water and soap, and we clean it out. Now, I don't know about you, but my mom, she once washed my jeans in really hot water, and they shrank. Well, that's what happens when you put the trumpet in really hot. You don't believe me? No? Really? Oh, that's too bad. Well, no, you guys are too smart for that. But this is the smallest of all the brass instruments, and because it's so short, does it play high notes or low notes? What do you think? High notes, right. So this is a very special kind of trumpet. We call this a piccolo trumpet because the word in Italian for small is piccolo. And so a piccolo flute, which you know, that's a small flute, and this is a small trumpet. This is a piccolo trumpet, and I like to say that we use the piccolo trumpet to fix Baroque music. So you might hear us play something like this. That is a piccolo trumpet. So now I think I've told you all you need to know about the brass family. About the trumpets in specific. You have trumpets in different shapes and sizes. Longer instruments make lower notes. Smaller instruments make high notes. We have mutes, which change the sound that we make. It's kind of like talking with different voices. We've told you about the history of the brass family from instruments that we found in nature to the present day, going to make metal trumpets, making them longer, and then making 7 trumpets in one. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and if you have a chance to play a musical instrument, you may choose to have fun making a funny sound into a mouthpiece, into your tube, for the rest of your life, if you want to choose the brass family. So, thank you very much for paying attention, and I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to see you at an Albany Symphony concert very soon. Thank you very much.